Alright, welcome to the Strange North channel. In this video, I'm going to show you the city of Prince Albert in the province of Saskatchewan. I hadn't been here in a long time, but a few weeks ago I was in this area and I decided to shoot some video in the city. Back in April, I did a video comparing Prince Albert with the city of Moose Jaw, and in that video I said that Moose Jaw was a bit better than Prince Albert after comparing the two cities in a variety of categories. But Prince Albert has many great features, and I wanted to do a little overview of the city for people that hadn't been there or maybe planned on visiting at some point in the future. So Prince Albert has a population of about 40,000 people, and it's actually the third largest city in Saskatchewan after Saskatoon and Regina. PA is located near the center of the province, and it's about 140 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. The city is located in a transition zone with aspen parkland to the south and boreal forest to the north. Prince Albert sits on the banks of the North Saskatchewan River, which also flows through my hometown of Edmonton, Alberta. And like Edmonton, it is also referred to as the gateway to the north, and it is the northernmost major urban center in Saskatchewan. And one big advantage of Prince Albert is just its proximity to wilderness. The city itself has extensive trails along the riverbank, but the city has quick access to a multitude of popular wilderness areas, including the massive Prince Albert National Park north of the city. And I'll give you a quick history of Prince Albert. So I don't quite know how to say this word, but the area of Prince Albert was originally called Kistapi-Nanik by the Cree tribes living in this area, and it roughly translates to Great Meeting Place. The first European trading post was built in this area in 1776 by a prominent American explorer and merchant named Peter Pond. Incidentally, this was the same year that his home country of the US became an independent country. Later on, a man named James Isbister, who was an Anglo-Métis employee of the Hudson's Bay Company, settled at the site of what is now the current city in 1862. In 1866, Reverend James Nisbet, who was a prominent Presbyterian church minister, arrived at the settlement to establish a mission for the local Cree. Nisbet would name this mission after Prince Albert, who was then husband of Queen Victoria, and that's how the city got its name. The territorial and provincial boundaries within Canada have changed at many times over the past, and on May 8th of 1882, the District of Saskatchewan was officially formed, and Prince Albert became its capital. A few years later, during the famous Northwest Rebellion of 1885, the Prince Albert Volunteers Infantry Unit sustained the heaviest casualties at the bloody Battle of Duck Lake. Fearing an attack by resistance leader Gabriel Dumont, settlers in this area took refuge with the Northwest Mounted Police in Prince Albert. They hunkered down in defense, but this attack never happened. After the Battle of Batoche, which ultimately led to the defeat of the Métis resistance, Major General Frederick Middleton marched to Prince Albert to relieve the town. That same year, Prince Albert was officially incorporated as a town under its first mayor, who was a prominent local Métis farmer named Thomas McKay. In 1904, the settlement was incorporated as a city, and in 1905, the Canadian borders within the prairies changed again. The District of Saskatchewan became the province of Saskatchewan, and the city of Regina to the south was designated as the new provincial capital. In the early 1900s, Prince Albert was one of the rival candidates to house either the new University of Saskatchewan or the Saskatchewan Federal Penitentiary. The university would ultimately be opened in Saskatoon, and the penitentiary was built in Prince Albert in 1911. To this day, Prince Albert is largely known for its correctional facilities, which employ a good portion of the city. Besides the Federal Penitentiary, there is also the Prince Albert Correctional Center and the Pine Grove Correctional Center. Interestingly, the federal constituency of Prince Albert has been represented by three politicians who would go on to be Prime Minister: John Diefenbaker, William Mackenzie King, and Sir Wilfrid Laurier. Due to its location, major industries around Prince Albert have been agriculture, forestry, and mining. And of course, the city became a major service center for a large portion of northern Saskatchewan. In 1909, shortly after Prince Albert was incorporated as a city, the city started an ambitious project, which was called the Colle Falls hydroelectric dam, and when completed, this would provide power to the entire area. However, this project would be abandoned in 1913 due to high costs and technical difficulties. The partially completed project cost the city nearly $3 million. It nearly bankrupted Prince Albert, and it took them many years to recover financially. This abandoned site was never demolished, and it still sits here today on the North Saskatchewan River about 45 kilometers east of Prince Albert. People have made some excellent videos on this place, and you can find some really cool videos on YouTube. And I'm definitely going to visit this place and make my own video when I'm in this area next spring. But a few weeks ago I had some time to shoot video in the city of Prince Albert, and I wanted to put a little video together for people that were interested in the city. If you're driving north into the city on Highway 2, which is the main road in and out of PA, as you're getting to the main part of town, you'll find the Prince Albert Tourist Information Center on your right-hand side. They have a ton of resources and information on the city of Prince Albert and the surrounding area. and the information center is right beside the Museum of Police and Corrections, which is an industry that has played a prominent role in building the city. Prince Albert definitely gets a bad rap at times. It often has some of the highest crime rates in the province, and the downtown core is definitely not as vibrant and busy as other cities in Saskatchewan. And that's basically true, although it doesn't tell the whole story. But one thing that I personally love about Prince Albert is that the city has done an excellent job of preserving many of its old historic buildings, and there's just a ton of really interesting architecture throughout the city. So personally, I find that learning about local ghost stories is an interesting way of learning about a town or city's history. Prince Albert has a surprising amount of local ghost legends, and they're often located in beautiful old historic buildings. First off, you have the Diefenbaker House. This is an old residence of John Diefenbaker. It's now a museum that's open during limited hours. Unfortunately, it wasn't open when I was here, but many people say that this building has had a ton of strange activity, and some people believe that this is caused by John Diefenbaker's first wife, Edna, who passed away. Another beautiful historic building that's reportedly haunted is the Margot Fournier Art Center. The art center houses a variety of workshops, classes, and displays, and the building is said to be haunted by two spirits that will turn lights on and off, show their faces in the windows, and play phantom music. You've also got the Prince Albert Historical Museum downtown. This is located in a beautiful old historic fire hall, and it is said to be haunted by a poltergeist who will make noise and slam doors in the basement. And even if you couldn't care less about ghost stories, this is just an excellent museum to check out. There's actually a park in Prince Albert that's said to be haunted. In fact, Kinsman Park is considered to be one of the most haunted spots in Saskatchewan. In the early 1900s, the provincial jail was located near the park grounds, and many people that were hanged at the jail were said to be buried in what is now Kinsman Park. And over the decades, people have reported all sorts of strange activity happening in the park. And honestly, among ghost enthusiasts, it's considered one of the most haunted places in the province. And as a side note, if you're in the Prince Albert area and you're looking for other paranormal spots, about 35 kilometers south of the city is the famous St. Louis Ghost Light. This is essentially a ghost light that appears along an old rail bed. This spot is very popular with residents of Prince Albert. And if you're interested in learning more about the St. Louis Ghost Light, a couple weeks ago I posted a video on my visit to St. Louis, and I definitely recommend checking out that video if you're interested in the subject. But back to Prince Albert. I just find that in general, when I'm walking around PA, there's a lot of history on display, particularly downtown. The central portion of the city has a really impressive collection of old buildings, and a lot of these buildings are sitting vacant. And it just seems to me that there's a lot of potential for future businesses who want to set up shop in a beautiful historic space. One thriving business in downtown Prince Albert is On the Avenue Artisans Gallery. It's located on the corner of a beautiful old building downtown. I actually featured this building in my Moose Jaw versus Prince Albert video thumbnail. I stopped in and talked to the owner, and he wanted to say a couple words on video. And I apologize, his volume is very low and I just couldn't get it any louder.
I'd really encourage people to come check out some of the small stores that are still open downtown in downtown Prince Albert on Central Avenue. This one, for instance, best place in town to buy gifts or to redecorate your home. Everything here is handmade and local. Between here and La Ronge, actually there's several points in Saskatchewan that show their works here. And yeah, come on downtown PA, it's a great place.
Prince Albert has a decent art scene in general. It has many other art galleries, including the popular Man Art Gallery, and this is attached to the E.A. Rawlinson Centre for the Arts, which is a world-class performing arts facility, and honestly quite an excellent venue for a city this size. Another excellent business downtown is Tramps Music and Books. This place is a lot bigger inside than it looks like from the outside. And they have a fantastic selection of music, movies, comic books, board games, trading cards, all sorts of stuff. Honestly, I can't personally recommend many restaurants to eat when you're in PA, but one place I really did enjoy was called Venice House. It's right downtown. The food was good, the service was excellent, and it just reminded me of those old dimly lit lounges you'd see in the 80s and 90s. It definitely has a vintage classic vibe, and I definitely enjoyed this place. Prince Albert does have a transit system which offers 6 regular routes throughout the city Monday to Saturday, and the buses only operate on the south side of the river where the vast majority of the city is. If you're into sports, the very popular Prince Albert Raiders of the Western Hockey League play at the Art Hauser Centre. Prince Albert also has very decent post-secondary institutions. It's home to the massive Woodland campus of Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and the city also has small satellite campuses of University of Regina and the University of Saskatchewan. Personally, one of my favorite areas of Prince Albert is the hill area. Much of the city is built on a hill that's sort of leading down to the river valley. This is mostly a residential area, and it has some really beautiful old homes and just a ton of vegetation and old trees and stuff like that. I first visited Prince Albert in 2012 when I was here on a college summer job. I was working as a door-to-door salesman selling alarm system contracts, and I was assigned this area of the city. And overall, I found it to be a very pleasant area of Prince Albert, definitely nicer than some of the other areas. And so obviously I'm just a tourist, I don't know Prince Albert as well as someone that lives here would, but I hope this gives you a decent overview of the city and a couple ideas if you plan on visiting at some point in the future. In my opinion, Prince Albert has done an excellent job of preserving many of its old historic buildings. It has a lot of its history on display, and it has a ton of really interesting architecture. The city has many kilometers of well-maintained trails along the river, and PA also has a bunch of other beautiful parks throughout the city. And with Prince Albert being the gateway to the north, many people use the city as a launch pad for traveling to Saskatchewan's vast northern wilderness areas. And that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. I hope you found this interesting and informative. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, and there's a link to that in the description below. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I typically upload something new at least once a week. Thank you for watching, I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Strange North channel.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the hood, the Prince Albert City. This 306 be doing good. Welcome to the block. Yeah, we making it hot. We in front of the skin junkies. Daddy making it pop. So every time they drop, but every time they talk, still 306. Welcome to the good old block.